I think that we are live. So, hello everyone. My name is Miranda. Welcome to the Spring 2020 USC Admitted Student Live Chat. First of all, me and I think everyone here want to say congrats on being admitted to the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Yep.
Wow, what an accomplishment. Super exciting, and we're so excited to talk to you today. So this live chat is where a panel of current engineering students will answer your questions that you submit to us on our website at viterbivoices.usc.edu/live. This live chat is specifically geared toward admitted students into the Viterbi School of Engineering, so we'll be answering all your questions about anything and everything related to engineering and student life at USC. Believe it or not, just a few years ago, we were all in your exact same position right now, getting admitted to colleges and trying to decide and figure out what's up. That's why we're here to try to answer all of your questions, from study abroad to internships to research to social life and whatever else you want to know. We've already received a ton of questions, but if you're just now tuning in, please keep submitting your questions at the link I mentioned earlier, viterbivoices.usc.edu/live. We're going to try to go through the form and answer most of your questions to the best of our ability, and we're going to start off by each telling you a little bit about ourselves. Go for it, Stephen.
Hey guys, what's up? My name's Stephen Douglas. I'm a junior studying aerospace engineering, and I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas. Welcome to my abode/home office now. On campus, I've been doing research since the end of my freshman year in the Dryden Wind Tunnel. I'm focused on biomimetics and how to get the natural world into the mechanical world to reach that pinnacle optimization. I'm part of the club AIAA, which is the professional club for aerospace engineers, and I am vice president of both my social fraternity and the club baseball team. Last summer, I spent studying abroad in Paris, and this summer I'll be working for Northrop Grumman on the James Webb Space Telescope.
Cool. I think I one-up Steven's sign by my background, which is very engineering-y, in my home machine shop in San Pedro, California, where I'm from. I'm Celeste. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering. On campus, I've been involved in Troy Camp, working with kids in the community around USC, taking them to summer camp for free. I've also been in the 3D printing club, working on medical devices, and I've also been a freshman academy coach. We might talk about that a bit later. In my summers, I've also done research in a biomedical engineering lab, working on tissue engineering. I've worked at a construction management company, and then I've also worked at Microsoft up in Seattle, and that's where I'll be going back full-time as a program manager in the devices group.
Cool, and I'm Camila. I'm the other senior on this live chat. I studied civil engineering with an emphasis in building science, and in my 4 years, I was able to do a lot of different things on campus, like professional organizations like the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, where we look to support Hispanic and Latino students in STEM careers and kind of the pathway to that. I've been part of a lot of different design teams that are more civil engineering related, so things involving earthquake engineering as well as construction management. And I was able to do research after my freshman year in China on how to use bamboo as a more sustainable replacement for lumber, as well as 2 internships at Arup, where I'll be returning full-time as a graduate sustainability consultant.
Hey guys, my name is Paul. I'm a sophomore studying computer engineering and computer science with a minor in applied computer security. On campus, I'm involved with the research lab. I started during this past summer, and I've been working with them for like 9 months now. I work in trying to merge education and cybersecurity together to provide better resources for students. In addition to that, I also did research my freshman year for an education professor, which was pretty cool. I'm also part of SHIP, like Camila. I'm currently the incoming VP of membership, which is great. In addition to that, I tutor high school students on the weekends, and yeah, that's mostly what I do.
Hi everyone, my name is Louis Collini. I'm currently a junior studying mechanical engineering from Dublin, California. So on campus, I used to be involved with the Formula SAE team, which is basically a design team where we design and build a 1-to-scale Formula One car. I'm also on the 3D printing team where we're currently developing a 3D printed drone. And I also volunteer in the community through this program called JEP, which places USC students in community organizations around Los Angeles. And for the past 2 summers, I interned with Intel as a mechanical engineering intern.
Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Derek. I'm a sophomore studying industrial and systems engineering with an emphasis in information systems. I'm from Los Gatos, California. On campus, I've been involved in an environmental engineering lab, working on membrane distillation technologies for both wastewater and seawater. Like Steven, I'm also vice president of my social fraternity on campus, and I'm also on the club volleyball team. And this summer, I'll be interning at Apple, doing analytics for their information systems and technology department.
Nice. Hi, everyone. I'm Domini. I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering with a minor in classical perspectives from the beautiful island of Maui. On campus, I am the incoming president of the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineering, which is a professional organization for biomedical engineers specifically. I also do molecular imaging research at the Michelson Center for Convergent Bioscience. Past summer, I studied abroad in Paris, France, like Steven, through the Viterbi Overseas program. And then this coming summer, I'll be interning for Edwards Life Sciences, which is a medical device company based in Irvine.
Awesome. Once again, my name is Miranda. Welcome to the live chat if you're just now tuning in. A little bit more about me is that I'm a junior studying chemical engineering with an emphasis in sustainable energy from Aurora, Colorado. And over my years on campus, I've volunteered with a club called Science Outreach, where we get to teach science experiments to second and third graders throughout LA. I've also been a member of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and I'm a part of Greek Life at USC. And then another fun thing I randomly did was join a Latin fusion dance team called USC Break On 2. Last spring, I was abroad in Brisbane, Australia for the whole semester, so I'd love to answer any questions about that. And then this summer, I'll be interning with BlackRock, hopefully in San Francisco, not online, in their ETFs and index investing department. So I'm seeing all your questions coming in. There's a ton, so please keep submitting them as we go on. But right now, we're going to jump right in with the first one from Morgan in LA, who wants to know, what research opportunities are there for freshmen?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I'll take that one. So yeah, I got involved in research when I was a freshman in my second semester, just because the first semester there's a lot thrown at you. Personally, laundry for me was a big deal, but also, you're going to college for the first time. You're taking college level courses. There's just a lot. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I took that first semester and I got to know my professor super well. And I realized what I want to focus on, which was wings. And I was like, oh, wind tunnel, this is so cool. And so I narrowed it down, and that's how I kind of found my research position with my professor.
So I would also add to that freshmen shouldn't be discouraged from applying to research labs. I gave myself that adjustment time that Steven talked about, but I applied to labs toward the end of my freshman first semester, and I had no research experience, and then I kind of got into a lab. So don't be discouraged if you don't have research experience. Professors are looking for students who they can kind of groom into leaders in their lab.
Yeah, I would also add one last thing. I think it's super important not to be worried that you need to know everything going into a research lab. You don't need to know as much as a PhD student knows who has been going to school for like 7 years. It's okay. So you'll always get mentored by a PhD student, by your PI, who's like the primary person that's running the whole lab. And so just don't worry. They'll teach you everything you need to know, whether it's the books or what you need to do in the lab itself.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for all those responses about research, because there's been so many questions about that. Another question from Kostaki in Austin, Texas. Can you guys talk a little bit more about how classes are structured at Viterbi? So maybe mention class sizes, relationships with professors, and maybe level of difficulty as you go throughout your years.
That's a good question. I'll jump right in with an answer. So far, all my classes, there are certain classes like your general physics classes, your math classes are going to be slightly bigger. Actually, even my math classes weren't too big, but you'll be in a lecture always taught by a professor, not by some TA. You'll have plenty of opportunity to meet your professor in class and during office hours. My classes within my major have never exceeded about 30 people. So you really get like a tight-knit community in there. You quickly meet people that you can collaborate with, maybe work on the homework together, and bounce ideas off one another. It's a super great environment.
Yeah, to go off of that, I'm currently like in computer science, and there's a lot of people in the major, obviously. So classes might get bigger sometimes, between 30 and 70 students, the intro classes. But something great, it's that they have a lot of resources. So they have something called TAs, which is a PhD student that is right under the professor that helps out. And then under that, they also have something called CPs. Some of the classes have them. And for us, if we have a coding assignment or something like that, there's always one space on campus that's open from like 9 a.m. until like 7 p.m. There's always a CP there just to help you out with your code. So you go in, you try the homework, you don't know what's going on, and they're just always there to help you with like coding questions, debugging questions, or like theoretical questions for your more algorithm-based classes, things like that. So there's always resources for everyone involved.
What's cool about Viterbi classes is that I feel that maybe half of them are just based on theory, right? So like you go to the class, to the lecture, and you do homework out of a textbook, but maybe the other half of the Viterbi classes are, like there's some lecture. The other half of the class is like a lab portion where you actually go to the lab and you do like hands-on experiments and you do projects. And it's really, really fun to be able to like do things that you're able to apply to like projects in the real world.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add to that? Nope. Okay, awesome. So before we get to the next question, if you're just tuning in, again, welcome to the Spring 2020 USC Viterbi Admitted Student Live Chat. Right now, we're taking questions submitted to our website, viterbivoices.usc.edu/live. And also, we're seeing your questions come up on the website chat, so we're going to try to take those as well as things keep going. If you missed the beginning of this, don't worry. The entire stream will be posted at the end. And if we don't make it to your questions, we will email you a response sometime in the next week or so. So next question from Nicholas in Las Vegas. Where are you from? Which I think most of you said, but reiterate if you're from far away from LA. And how difficult or easy was your transition to USC?
Yeah, coming from Arkansas, it's definitely a little bit different. I mean, as you can imagine, luckily, I'm no stranger to big city. I'm originally from New York, so I kind of I wasn't going to be intimidated. But the hardest part is just like the small things, like waking up in your own bed sometimes or having a nice home cooked meal at the beginning. And then just like missing your family. I mean, the biggest thing for me was missing my family and just like, having that support system right there next to me. I'm not saying that you don't have it at USC. You just have to find those people, and your family you were kind of given. So when you go away from that, you have to, kind of see what else is there. So the biggest adjustment for me was just no family, like very close, but it was very doable and manageable because so many people are dealing with the same thing.
I'm from the Bay. Camille, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Colombia, but I grew up in Miami, Florida, and that's on the East Coast versus the West Coast. And my mom was actually like, don't apply to any schools in California. It's too far. And of course, I ended up going to a school in California. But there's definitely little adjustments that you have to make. Like there's a little bit of a time difference, 3 hours. So that was a little bit hard. Even now, like right now I'm on the East Coast and it's 10 p.m. versus like West Coast at 7 p.m. So I know for some of you, this is a little late, but I'm happy that you could join if you're on the East Coast. But yeah, it was just like little adjustments like that, making sure you make time for like FaceTime with your family. But overall, like I think California has really cool things that I didn't get to see on the East Coast, like mountains next to beaches, next to like places you can ski and places you can surf. So I think that was the coolest change for me, at least, is living around mountains, because I had never really experienced that before. And it's really cool to explore the different landscape that California has to offer.
Definitely. I know when I got to USC, because I came from the Denver area, I felt so trapped in the city. Like sometimes you look around and you can only see buildings and no like mountains. I was like, oh, this is terrifying. But as it went on, I found so many ways to get outside. Like clubs like SC Outfitters and Peaks and Professors give students opportunities to get outside. And there's a ton of ways to make it work. And that adjustment is weird for everyone. So another question that we've gotten is from Jonathan in Mountain View, California. And he said, what has your experience been with safety around USC's immediate surroundings, and maybe speak more about what it's like on campus during the day, at night, living there full time?
Yeah, that's definitely a totally valid concern, and that's something that I know my parents were concerned about, me going off island. So I would start by saying I've never felt unsafe on campus or in the perimeter right off campus. I live off campus now, but it's like right off campus. And so I never felt unsafe. I do think that USC does a lot to ensure our safety. I'm sure other people can give some examples, but we have a free lift system where we can take free lifts from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. Every day. And that's really helpful if you want to, get something to eat close by and you don't feel super comfortable walking, and also for grocery shopping and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I would add also living off campus. Sorry, Camila. Usually, I would say most USC students live on campus their first, second year, and then kind of move off their third and fourth year. But like Jomini said, it's super close. But outside of my house, I know that we have one of our what we call yellow jackets there, like 100% of the time, every single night. And so these people stand on every corner, and they're basically like a security guard for you, in case you ever feel unsafe. And I know a lot of the times I just like say hi to them, like friends with them at this point, because they're always right outside my front door. So that's kind of another thing that USC does for the whole community around campus.
Definitely.
I'd also add that it's like any big city. You have to be careful with your surroundings if you're in a large city. So I don't think it's really anything that's like particular to that area. It's just like the product of being next to Los Angeles, which is such a big city with so many different types of people, that maybe have different backgrounds of you, or just have I don't know, there's just a big culmination of people from all different places, and it's like any big city that you have to take care of yourself with.
Definitely. I think that just makes it more exciting too. All these people from everywhere just gotta have your wits about you, which I'm sure you all do. So yeah. I guess there's another comment stream. If you're commenting in the YouTube chat, I'm also seeing all your questions. If you're commenting on the website, I'm seeing your questions. And if you're using the Google form, I'm seeing your questions. So we're going to try to get to as many as we can and hopefully just keep going and answer more of your questions. So Wasan from Saudi Arabia wants to know, is it true that the workload is heavy or is it manageable in Viterbi?
Well, you're an engineer, so you do have a lot of work to do. There's no getting around it. It's a tough curriculum, but it's definitely manageable. There are people who have been there before who can help you out with time management, and it's probably not going to come right away. For the first couple of weeks or like first midterm season, you might need to take a step back and be like, oh, well, I did not do that one right. But it is, it definitely is manageable once you get a routine. And the thing is, your routine's going to change every semester. So some semesters I'll stay up to like 9 p.m. working. Other semesters I'll be up to like midnight working, but just how your class schedule works out, your clubs and all your kind of other commitments work out. But yeah, it's definitely manageable. I've never felt like, oh my gosh, I'm caving in under all this pressure. Sure enough, you have your days, but it's not like a constant feeling.
Yeah, going off that, I'd say like coming out of high school, like the biggest transition is probably just like your time is so much more fluid. So like every semester, like Stephen was saying, your class schedule's changing. You have extracurriculars that you have to fit in certain slots, and not to mention your homework schedule. Like the turn-in dates can change every week, or if they're consistent, then you just have to find a time where you can do your homework every week, and it might change. So it just comes out of time management and adjusting to kind of a new way of thinking about how to manage your time coming out of high school, where you might have the same class every day, you see the same teacher at the same time every day, to a much more dynamic schedule, but it's totally manageable.
Yeah, I agree with them. Right off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like my data structures and object-oriented programming class that every CS student has to take most likely their second semester freshman year, which it's a lot of work, but at the same time, the professors know this and they give you like for each homework assignment, which is only 4 or 5 each semester, depending on the professor, they give you 3 or 4 weeks to do them. So even though it's a lot of work, if you manage your time correctly, which you will slowly learn how to do, it's completely manageable and it won't be as bad.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also in terms of like adding student organizations onto the plate. You heard all of our introductions. We're all involved in a lot of different things, and that seems like it's impossible. But every semester, you really learn how to shift it. So like my sophomore year, I was probably spending a lot more time on my clubs and organizations. I was on an executive board, really putting time into that. And then my junior year, my classes really picked up. So you really like, change the balance of the scale. And that's kind of what you learn here. And I think that's such an amazing skill to come out of school with too, is like learning how to deal with carrying so many plates at once, I guess. So it's a skill you really get down at the end.
Definitely agree with that. Another question is coming from Matthias in San Diego, and he wants to know about your freshman roommate and dorm experience. Did you choose a roommate? How did you choose where to live and where you might have lived?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I lived in the Parkside Arts and Humanity dorms. I roomed with people that I just met in a Facebook group. I know now people don't do Facebook groups, like that's outdated, and it's more there's an Instagram page, I think. But that's how I met my roommates, and we were all a group of like Hispanic girls from different countries, and it was a lot of fun. It's 8 of us in a suite style dorm, so 4 rooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 people per room, so it was like 4 people per each bathroom. And I had so much fun. They're still like one of my best friends now. It's a little different than like the traditional dorm style, that it's more like a long hallway, that it's a little more social. So if you want to get to know like a small group of people really well, I suggest suite style. But if you want to get to know a lot of people, then I would do like a traditional dorm style, which is dorms like Burncrant or New North, things like that.
Yeah, actually, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was a senior, I remember that I was really worried about what roommate I would have. So I like perused the Facebook page and I like searched like really hard, like, oh, who's gonna be my roommate? It's gonna be this guy. So I like messaged a bunch of people. I eventually found a roommate, and so I was living in a suite, and the other suite mates were random. So I chose my roommate, but my suite mates were random. So what happened was, by the end of the year, I was best friends with all my suite mates, but I didn't talk to my roommate. So even if you choose your roommate, that doesn't actually guarantee that you're gonna be friends with them. So if you don't end up getting to choose one, don't really worry about it, because I know plenty of people that are best friends with their roommates, even though they've been random.
I have a very similar story. I chose kind of 1.5 of my suite mates my freshman year. I lived in McCarthy. So I chose the first one, and he had kind of already chosen another guy, and I was like, cool. And then we picked up a 4th person, and we were like, we barely know this guy, but sure. And that 4th person ended up being like one of my best friends in college to this day. I still live with him. He's amazing. As far as the other part of your question, which might have been about just like the freshman dorm experience in general, it's really awesome. You get to know a lot of people, and I really enjoyed living in McCarthy. And I recommend it if you have the opportunity to. It was a great place.
Yeah, I think something to add to that is just that when it's midterm season, everybody in the dorms knows. So like you get in an elevator in the lobby and you look at the other person and they're just like, are you okay? Like, and everybody shares this sort of camaraderie or this connection in the dorms. And it's really special because around that time, I would go to a study lounge and it'd be like 3 a.m. and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'd be working alone. And there's like 4 or 5 people in there, and then you get to know them. And then the next day, you're like, oh, how'd it go? And so I think it really helps you build that sense of camaraderie. And I lived with 6 other guys that were all on my floor freshman year. So you get like your closest friends right then.
Yeah, one more thing is that I lived in A&H like Camila my freshman year, and I started it off, and for some reason I just didn't like it. I just was never, to be completely honest, I was never in my room. I just like studying somewhere outside of like my room or where I'm at. That's just me. So like I would always be outside and I would just come to sleep, wake up, and then leave again. So I didn't see the whole point behind it. So after the first month, I decided to switch. So like after 3 weeks to a month, you get the chance to like switch to a different dorm. If you don't like it, try it, see something like that. So I switched to South, and then I thought it was great because they had like the main study lounge underneath the first floor. I lived in Marksall, and it was just pretty amazing because I just got to be there, and there was so many people around me, and I wasn't just confined to one specific space. So it works different for all of us. I ended up loving South. So yeah.
I just want to emphasize one last thing. Sorry. At USC, there's no engineering dorm. Okay. Everyone needs to know this because it's so important, because I think it's such an amazing choice. Because you meet people that are studying literally jazz guitar. That was on my floor studying jazz guitar. So it's just like such cool things and cool people you get to meet. Okay. That's all I wanted to say.
I was also like die hard. I want a chemical engineering major. I have to have one, which in hindsight is very unnecessary. No offense to my old roommate, but like, you're gonna see those people in your classes. Like our majors are pretty tight and close knit that you get to know everyone, so don't stress about roommates and stuff like that. So I have a good question coming from Ellie in California that just got submitted in the last few minutes. And it's, what types of hands-on projects do civil engineers do, specifically building science? So Camila, maybe you could answer that, but also for the rest of you, what other hands-on projects have you done while at USC?
Cool. So I love this question because I love the building science program and civil engineering in general. If you're interested at all in architecture, design, but still really like engineering, I recommend the building science program if you're looking into civil engineering. We do a lot of hands-on projects. So for example, my sophomore year, I had to build a 8-foot paper tower with no glue or tape or anything. So you had to come up with some sort of a structural system, which seems kind of silly because you're making things out of paper. But you really learn like how different structural systems work at a more like rudimentary level. And then of like adds on as you go through the program. So my junior year, it was more of an individual project where you learn a lot of softwares like Rhino, Revit. These are all 3D modeling softwares. On top of that, you learn like the Adobe suite. So Photoshop or Illustrator to make sure that you're presenting your projects beautifully. And I think that you end up making a lot of buildings, you end up designing schools, you end up designing I don't know, any sort of like house. My project this year is an Olympic skateboarding arena, so that's really cool. You have to design all the architectural elements as well as do all the structural calculations behind it. So it's really like you're your own mini like civil engineering architecture firm, really putting out all of the deliverables that you would in a real workspace. So that's been really cool. And in kind of different outside of classes, your organizations, you can do things like the concrete canoe, you can design a steel bridge. I was part of the Earthquake Engineering Research Institute team. So we designed like a 5-foot, I'm 5'2", so it was basically my height, which was cool to build something my height out of balsa wood. So we made a scale model of a building that we had designed, and then we put it at like this huge conference on a big shake table that would put it through like an earthquake simulation, and half of the teams would like collapse, and it was like incredible to see like these things that you put like, I don't know, probably hundreds of hours into just like fall in front of your eyes. Ours survived, which is good. But there's a lot of really cool hands-on projects.
Yeah, you can get hands-on even in your classes. A lot of classes, I think Paul or somebody was mentioning, there's a lab component to a lot of classes. So you get that hands-on work always, no matter what. And then those design groups are like super beneficial just to see your learning in class come to fruition in whatever you're doing, because you use those same equations and you understand them so much better. Like, for example, when I'm doing my research and I'm in the wind tunnel, I'm still using the equations that I learned in my freshman aerospace class. And still getting to know them. And when you understand that on a deeper level, it's just much more rewarding. And even like most engineering, like your major introduction course will have a big hands-on project that will kind of introduce you to that. How do we blend these equations into actual like real life solutions?
Yeah.
Sorry, Dominique, go.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking it from a biomedical engineering standpoint, recently, well, before we went on Zoom, I'm in this class called medical electronics, and we basically developed a ECG, which is an electrocardiogram, and that's the thing you see in the hospital, so you can see your QRS wave. And it was really neat because we got to go all the way to like electrodes and then like building a circuit to amplify your electrical activity, and then see it on a screen. So yeah, that's just an example of how biomedical engineering, you can kind of do those kind of applications.
Yeah, I was also going to say, even in some of your like very theory heavy classes, you'll still have some project parts. So like we have fluids for aerospace and mechanical engineers and Astro as well. And in that class, you learn all this, like the fluids equations at the beginning, and then you make a literal like water bottle rocket, and you have to simulate it on MATLAB and then shoot it up in the air. And we do it at like 6 a.m. and it's like this whole thing. And then also at the same time, people are doing gliders out there. So like pretty much most AME classes, I would say, have some sort of hands-on component.
Awesome. Yeah. So lots of cool projects going on all the time. I feel like at any given moment, I could ask anyone what they're working on, and they're going to say something really cool. So another question coming in live is from Aviv in California, and he wants to know, were there times when you needed help, either academically or personally, and were you able to find the resources you needed to help yourself?
I can answer that. So My second semester, I was taking my first theory class, which is discrete methods in computer science. So like they were talking about, I have like a coding class 104, which was the data structures class, and then I had this one discrete methods class, and I knew nothing. I remember coming in the first day of classes, the professor at first just assumed that most of us knew some probability or statistics, so he just started talking, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. Like I don't know any formula that he's just writing on there. And he was so confident, and people were like jumping in and doing all this stuff. But then he said that he had office hours at 8 a.m. on the days that he wasn't teaching. So my class, no, at 8:30 in the morning. So my class was at 8 a.m. twice a week, and he had 8 a.m. classes, 8:30 a.m. office hours the other times. So after that first lecture, I thought to myself, I'm usually not like this, but I don't know anything that's going on. So for the first month and a half, I went to his office hours at 8:30 in the morning religiously, and I would just sit with him and one other person because we were the only crazy people to go in at that time. I would go for half an hour and then go to work at 9 a.m. So just think about that. And then I remember the first midterm was coming up, and then more people started to come in like the week before, but I still needed more help. But because they were coming in, I couldn't ask my questions. I was very confused. So I came up to him and I asked him, like, is there any other thing that I could do? Because I really need to ask you one-on-one. So his last office hours, the day of the midterm, he actually sent me an email the day before, and he said I could come in at 8 a.m. and we could do a one-on-one office hours with just me. So from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I was there, and he had his regular 8:30 office hours, and it was just great for me because he just saw the effort that I was putting into the class, and then he just gave me that extra time, which really helped me. And then after that first midterm, I started to get a lot of the other things, so I only went to office hours occasionally after that, which was great for me. But he just gave gave me that chance, and it was really great.
Yeah, I think a big thing is realizing that it's okay to need help. When you go off to college, it's like, oh, like here I come, like I'm gonna take on the world, I'm gonna be independent, like this is gonna be great. But in reality, there's a lot of challenges that come with college, but like personally and coursework. But the thing is, the odds that people around you are thinking the same exact thing are just so absolutely high. You just have to say something. If you're struggling or you need help with classwork, people are always willing to help you out. Or even if you're something personal, like you're missing home, you don't know what, like there's something in your dorm going on, if you just mention it to somebody, odds are they'll be like, yeah, I totally get that. And it kind of still comes with that camaraderie and just building friendships with each other and finding that support system. So there's definitely help. I mean, academically, there's like VARC, which is the Viterbi Academic Resource Center, which is like online tutoring for classes, whatever you need. Like any engineering class, they have somebody who got a good grade in that class tutoring. There's TAs, there's like SI, supplemental instructions. There's just so many ways to get help. It's almost like intimidating how many ways there are to get help academically. But like Paul was saying, you just have to like go get it. Like go to your professor's office hours and ask them questions. Because one of my professors put it best. He was like, yeah, if you guys don't come in, I just look at cat memes on my computer, and I've been looking at cat memes for 8 weeks now, so please come. So they're so willing to help you out. You just have to go take advantage of it.
Yeah, building off of that too is I found my greatest resources were my peers a lot of times. And I feel like that's what I really love about USC is that it's such a collaborative culture. And I've formed study groups in all of my classes, and I cannot imagine doing all those hard problem sets without like doing it with a group of people. And it's not, the curve always helps you. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to give someone the wrong answers or something like that. So yeah, so professors are helpful, but also the people you're taking classes with.
Yeah, and even the people you're not taking classes with, I remember just like huddling myself in my suite mate's room my freshman year, and I was taking an introductory programming class, and I had never coded in my life. He came in as a CS major and had all this experience, so I was like, help me, please. And he did, and then in exchange, I would like work on his English essays. I'd help him with math or anything else I could. It was great. There's so much collaboration that happens, and it's magical.
Yeah, CS majors are my best friends still today, so I
yeah,
understand that.
I think another good thing to bring up is a lot of the resources mentioned, like VARC and SI sessions, are free to students. So it's like they're there. and it's kind of in your best interest to use them, and that's how I ended up using them. Like, oh, why not if you're not doing well? So I do want to emphasize again, we're seeing all of your questions on our website, on the YouTube, and through the forum. And we're going to try to get to all of them during this, which is unlikely. But in the event that we don't, we're going to respond to them to the best of our ability after the chat. So hopefully all of your questions get answered. So a question we have right now in the YouTube chat is from user Irvi A. I'm on my phone. This. What was your skill set like entering freshman year? So design applications, coding languages, electronic experience.
So I think for me personally, as a mechanical engineer, I kind of knew how to code a little bit from high school, but that was basically the only thing I knew at all. So I didn't understand like CAD or how to like build anything at all, or like circuits and all that stuff. And I remember distinctly there was a time freshman year where this guy in my GE section, he had this like electric skateboard that he built from scratch. And I looked at it and I was like, dude, how did you do that? And he was like, yeah, it was pretty easy. I just did this. And I was like, okay, wow. And then the other day I was thinking about it to myself and I was like, holy crap, it's actually pretty easy to make. I could do that. So I'm thinking about doing it over the summer. So I'll just say that it goes from 0 to 100 really quickly. Like you just pick up skills here and there in classes and clubs. So don't worry about coming in from 0.
I think I didn't realize how much I learned throughout college until I had people from high school come onto campus and ask me questions, and I was like saying all these different terms, and I realized, oh wait, I know all these things now. But I definitely came in with like very little skills. I did know a little bit of coding, but very rudimentary. That's not really that applicable in most of your civil engineering classes. You do have some computer methods in civil engineering that you do a little bit of coding. But it was really cool to see how much you do end up learning in the 4 years. And what I thought I knew about civil engineering is way less than what I know now. So it's pretty cool to kind of see how much you end up learning. And I think with other majors, maybe you had like, if you're interested in mechanical engineering, you might be in a robotics team or something that kind of introduces you to that. It's a little bit harder for civil engineering, except like maybe core physics classes. Because you don't really learn like how to design a steel beam in like high school. So I definitely had 0 coming in, I think, in this major, but it's cool to see how much you learn.
Yeah, coming into college, my biggest things in high school were National History Day, which is just like the nerdiest thing you've ever heard of, and like ASB, like leadership. So I had like 0 technical skills, was not involved in robotics, like nothing. But I would say the things I had going for me were like my ability to speak to people and like work in teams. And really, like that is unparalleled, like being able to have those skills. So I would say like don't worry about not having, technical ability. Like everyone said, you'll learn that, but what you will continue to do is work with other people and work in teams and do projects. And that's like just as important to like strengthen while you're in high school as well.
Definitely. All right, so a question from the Google form now, and something that's been really common across all the comment streams is, wait, sorry, I lost the question. A lot of stuff going on. Micah from St. Louis wants to know how accessible is pursuing a minor to engineering students? And for example, a minor in the Marshall School of Business. So like Domini, I know you have a minor. Anyone else that has a minor, if you could speak about that experience.
Yeah, I have a minor in classical perspectives, which is not business, but I can speak to like the course load and stuff. So I think what helped for me is I came in with AB credit, but I think even if you don't, if you pursue a smaller minor, it's definitely doable. My minor is only like 4 more classes, and I could overlap some of those classes with my general education requirements. And I think the one thing I'll take away from like this minor is like it's just such a nice break from engineering and science. I really look forward. Right now I'm in this class called Ancient Drama, and I just read all these Greek tragedies, which are really sad. But such a nice break to like put aside my my coding or my problem set and just like read. And so I definitely encourage people to do a minor. It's a nice way to explore something outside of engineering. And it's something you probably won't ever be able to do again after you start your career.
Yeah, I'll kind of add like almost the opposite on that. Like I don't have a minor, but I'm still taking all these classes that I want to take. So just because you want to learn about business or entrepreneurship, it doesn't mean you have to get that minor. I knew I wanted to learn about entrepreneurship coming in. I was like, oh, I'm going to get this minor. And then I took some classes and I watched my course load develop. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably not going to do this minor. And it actually opened like a lot of doors for me. So I took these entrepreneurship classes that I could still talk about. I was able to take anthropology classes, Native American classes, ghost story classes, archaeology classes, just like well-round everything. And of course, ping pong. Had to increase my ping pong level in college as well. They have a class for that, and
Very
so
well rounded.
classes for everything.
Like that.
So yeah, it's just I decided to not get that minor because I wanted that more flexibility in my schedule to take all the classes I wanted to take, as opposed to having two like focused areas.
From the
Yeah.
businessy, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, just from the like business end of things, I would say you don't need to have a minor to be able to be part of the entrepreneurship community on campus, like Stephen was mentioning. So I formed a team with a few of my friends, did a bunch of pitch competitions, and we like made it pretty far in those, which was really, really fun. And through that, I learned a lot from mentors and was going through a whole program with workshops and everything. And I felt like I learned way more in less time than I would maybe in a class. So there's so many opportunities like that outside of the classroom as well in a business sense.
Definitely. I think major emphases are a really great way to kind of add a specialization or more information about something else. Like I know chemical engineering has material science as an emphasis, petroleum as an emphasis, sustainable as an emphasis. So many ways to kind of mix your pot of classes and get a really unique experience at SC. Something I'm seeing a lot of right now is admission related questions. So asking about financial aid, for example, the college application, AP credits, I think is a really popular one that a lot of you have questions on. So since we're just students, we're only here to talk about our experience at SC, but for all your admission related questions, you can go to viterbiadmission.usc.edu for more answers about that stuff, or email viterbi.admission@usc.edu for questions about financial aid and things of the sort. So right now, another fun kind of question, or maybe a little more of a personal question, is from Tom Hansen in California. And he asked, did you doubt yourself in your first days at SC or in Viterbi? And how did you eventually get over that?
Yeah, when you kind of fail one of your first midterms, you can doubt yourself. Coming from high school, everything is so formulaic. Like you study this, like you're going to get a good grade on the test, boom. And then you come to college for calculus, for example, like you learned calculus in high school and you're like, oh yes, I know calculus, I got an A and stuff. But the calculus in college is much, much different, even if you go back to Calc 1. And so when you take your first midterm and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not like the test that I used to take. That's when I like doubted myself at the beginning. I was like, am I cut out for this? But college and being an engineer in general is just reteaching your brain how to learn. You're becoming a problem solver, and your brain has to rework these methods in your head of, okay, how am I going to approach this? This is completely new to me. And so, yes, I did doubt myself in the beginning there, but once you relearn how to learn, it becomes kind of second nature almost, and that's what engineering is all about.
Yeah, I know for me coming in, I was taking like my intro to computer science class, and then I was just looking at around, and there was a great variety of people. So there were some people that they previously mentioned like hadn't coded before. Some people that had coded a little. I had coded for like a year and a half, so I had some understanding. And then there were people that had coded for like 4 years, 5 years, and they already had like 3 apps deployed, all these different stuff, and that was like really scary to me at first. And then I remember an upperclassman, she was a junior at the time, and I was talking with her and she said, don't worry about it. You just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to be fine. And then I look at it now and it just took me a little while, but I'm able to learn the same things that they're learning. There was a small learning curve, but I'm at the same level as they are right now. I'm getting the same offers that they're getting. If we're in a group project together, I'm able to contribute to it. So it's pretty great to see the progression from like me thinking that I knew nothing to like me actually being like part of this community and being able to contribute to it. So it's pretty cool.
I think for me, I never really thought that I would study engineering until I was actually applying to colleges. Throughout my high school, I was more involved with like AP art and musical theater, and definitely like not engineering extracurriculars. So when I was applying to colleges, I realized that engineering, because I did like my math and my physics classes, but I realized that engineering is an art. It's just a more calculated art. but I still had a lot of doubts because I had never thought of myself as an engineer going into college or as someone that was like more science math focused. But I think as soon as I like learned the skills that I did and I was able to apply them into really creative ways, I realized that engineering is an art and it is a creative field, and it's just with a lot of like scientific backing behind it. But I think that was my biggest doubt, that I never even thought that it was a career path that I would enjoy, and I love it so much. So I think you just have to keep pushing through and find the parts that you like.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in here too, and like I'll say that like being surrounded by like the amazing people that are at SC and like these people around here me, like I doubt myself like to this day. Sometimes I hear of like their amazing accomplishments and I'm just like, wow, like I am not worthy. Like what do I do on a weekend? Nothing. Like, but you just have to remember that like being surrounded by people like that is going to make you a better person, and there's so many opportunities around you to talk to those people, figure out what they've done if you're trying to do something similar to them, or I don't know, just learn a thing or two from everyone around you. So
Yeah, Tom, so to be really specific, you said, how do you eventually get over that? Or like, do you eventually get over that? And I think what everyone is kind of saying is, yeah, like find your way, you make it work, and it's natural to doubt, but the progression through it and past it is also really natural and possible. So another question coming in on the website from Luke Cortez is, have you ever experienced difficulty in getting classes that you wanted to take?
Well, major related courses, no. Like you will get your major related courses that you need, but the cool like GEs and stuff, those go quick, like surfing, and all the other GEs, like those classes go quick. Now, there are sometimes like there's different classes, like engineering classes offered at different times, and sometimes are obviously going to be more popular than others. But there's never been a time where I need a course and I can't take it. That's not a thing. That's just not a thing. If you need it for your degree, you get in it. Now, which section you get in that semester is a different story. So if you're going to have to take an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday instead of a 12 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, it comes with it. You just have to do it. We all take 8 a.m.s. It happens. But yeah, for major related courses, there's no problem. But when you look into like other GEs and stuff, that's where things kind of get, oh man, I missed out on that class this semester.
Yeah, I think also the really cool part about USC is we have amazing advisors. I'm sure everyone here can attest to that, but I think Julie, my advisor, is the best advisor ever in the world. You just go to her and you just need, okay. All right, well, maybe people think differently, but okay, we can fight about it. Basically, that's a good thing. So you can just go to them, specifically Julie, and just be like, hey, it's not looking like I'm getting into this class, like it's full, what's up, like I need this class or whatever, and they will just open a spot, or they'll even open a whole new section of the class. Like that's happened a lot throughout my 4 years, which is pretty crazy that they can just do that for you on the spot, but it's really common.
All right, so if anyone wants to answer this question really quickly, I really wanted to ask it because I know when I was coming in, I asked everyone this. Porter from Virginia wants to know, what laptops do you think are best for studying in Viterbi School of Engineering, and any other technology that you think would be helpful or useful?
So I guess for mechanical engineering, my honest opinion is the Windows is best. Yes. But for CS, that might be a different story.
Just speaking from experience, everyone has so many different laptops. Like I go into class and some people have like a Dell, other people have an HP, other people have a Mac. It varies a lot. But just thinking of like personal experience, I know Macs might be a little difficult to work with in a CS environment because of all the software that you need to download. The sole reason being like Apple doesn't like to share its stuff a lot. It just likes for you to use certain things. So a lot of times I see people that have Macs that they have to like download extra software in order to get something to work, which is totally fine. Like they still get it done and they still use their computer. But personally speaking, after my freshman year, I bought a Dell, and it's the best decision of my life. I love it. So yeah.
I would also add, oh, sorry, Derek, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Celeste.
I'll just say I have a Mac. If you have a Mac coming in and you're going into mechanical or something, it's okay because you can go to the computer labs. And I would say some of my best times of junior year were working in SAL, which is our computer lab that everyone goes to all the time, and just chatting with other people and like getting their help. It's like those spaces where everyone's just working together. And because I didn't want to download a boot camp on my computer and do all that stuff, and it was fine.
Yeah, I'll also throw in from an ISE perspective. I'm running on my juiced up 2016 MacBook Pro, and I'm doing great. I've had a couple classes where I think we were using like SAP software that required Windows, but we actually downloaded like through USC VMware, which you can basically run a remote Windows desktop from your laptop anywhere, and that's worked out well for me. So.
Also, Derek's working at Apple now, so don't trust anything he says.
He might be getting paid to say that. I'm just saying.
All right, guys.
I'll back Derek up. I'm BME, and definitely Apple worked out fine. So.
All right.
You're welcome.
So, make whatever works. That's what we're getting out of this. We have time for one last question, and I want to give each of our panelists time to answer it fully and thoughtfully, and the seniors to reflect on kind of their time at USC. And this is our most popular question by far, and a lot of people want to know why we chose USC. So why USC over other engineering schools? Why did you pick USC over potentially other top engineering schools? If we want to start with Steven and go in the same order as before, I think that worked perfect.
Yeah, so that's the big question. That's the big number right there. And it boils down to 3 reasons for me. First of all, I applied to 23 schools. I got into like 22 of them, so I had a lot of options. And it really came down to 3 things. The first of it being opportunity. So I wanted to go somewhere where I could have opportunity to grow as a person, grow as an engineer, and then have a really set foundation to go get a job and go get a solid job. I think that's really I've seen that even in like the Viterbi career fair, there's like 100 something companies that show up and they all wear like pins that say Trojans hire Trojans. And this is just like this Trojan family is so big. And the reason they come back is because they know what engineers at USC, what kind of coursework we go through. And it's like very sought after in the industry. And so I think that has really come true, is that the opportunity here, especially for aerospace specifically, the aerospace hub of the world is in Los Angeles. So I was able to get a job because just everything's here. Everything's down the road. The second thing was the work environment. I did not want to go to a school where there were sharp elbows and people were like, I'm going to sabotage you. I'm going to beat you in the curve, this and that. And so I wanted to see some sort of collaborative work environment. And that's kind of hard to see when you visit. But when you look around and you look at all the students like talking to each other, nobody's walking alone, nobody's eating lunch alone, everybody's smiling. It's like a real good environment, and that has also come true. Every class basically has some sort of group project in it. One of my classes had a group midterm in it because the professor was like, there's not going to be a time in your life as an engineer where somebody's going to hand you a book, point you to a corner and say, all right, you have an hour to solve this problem, go do it by yourself. So that's a big reason. And the third and maybe biggest reason for me is just happiness. Where I was going to succeed. I people watched with my mom for 2 hours on the side of a fountain. Everybody was smiling. Everybody was happy. And I was like, okay, if I fail or mess up here, this is somewhere I could pick myself up and dust myself off.
Yeah, okay, that was a great answer. Well, just small little part of that, I think what Stephen was talking about is really the people in Viterbi and the people at USC in general. Like Camila was mentioning earlier, I was also really nervous to become an engineer. I wasn't really sure I could do it. And in high school, I was really interested in literature, all these other things, classical perspectives, maybe like Domi was talking about, so many things outside of engineering. And when I came and visited USC and Viterbi, I saw people that were doing all of those things. They weren't just leaving all their interests to the side and studying engineering. They were really like pursuing business, pursuing art, pursuing all these different things. And that's when I was really like, wow, I belong here. Like it's not just, one type of person. It's just such a broad variety and everyone's so passionate and involved. And it was the best choice.
Yeah, I think that when you come onto campus, when you're able to, you can feel the energy that surrounds USC and surrounds Viterbi as well. There's people involved with so many cool projects. And even though maybe your interests may change, like people follow their passions, even though like the definition of what their passion is may change with time. So maybe you switch your major, but you're still really interested in creating a social impact with the things that you do. So it's really cool to see, and you feel it when you come onto campus. And it's what I felt when I toured for the first time before I committed, that people really want to work together, and instead of competing against each other, they want to work with each other to create a better world around them and create a happy community. So I think that kind of everyone touched on that a little bit, but that's definitely why I ended up choosing USC.
Yeah, for me, I had not visited campus when I got accepted. I had not visited campus. I had not done any kind of like events that they do, so I knew almost nothing about it. My cousin had told me about USC, and that's why I decided to come. He graduated a couple years ago. But the big thing that sold me on it was that right after I got accepted, my dad was like, he like ran across his boss at his job, and then his boss asked him how his family was. Like he always asked. And then my dad actually said that I got into USC, and then his boss got really excited. My dad did not know this, but he's actually a Trojan. So he graduated from Marshall or School of Business, and then he told my dad that he needed to see me. I had just gotten accepted, so it wasn't like I knew what was going on. So like 2 days later, I remember just walking into my dad's boss's office. Me, 17-year-old at the time, I was extremely nervous. I was like, what if I say something wrong? What if he gets fired? I was just like, I don't even know why I was so nervous. It wasn't even that big deal, but I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like I've never met this man. And then I walked in, and then the guy gets up from his desk, and he just greets me so well, and he just starts talking, and he just sounds so enthusiastic about the whole thing. And like without even knowing anything, that was my first interaction with like the Trojan family. And then the big impact was that at the end of me talking with this random guy for 20 minutes about so many random things, it was kind of weird, but it was great. And then at the end, he looks at my dad and he says, I know he's gonna be going away to LA. It's gonna be really far. Don't worry about it if you ever need to take a day off. Don't worry about it if you ever need anything from me. Just let me know. If you need to go drop him off, take some days off work, when freshman year starts, do it. Like just let me know, and I'm here for you. And that was just so great because I immediately saw the Trojan family from someone that I had never met before, and that I wasn't even a Trojan yet. Like I had just gotten accepted. That's it. And then that got me really excited, and that was the main reason why I chose USC over any of the other schools without even visiting.
Yeah. So for me personally, it really came down to just like the vibe of the campus and like what the people were like. Because at the end of the day, if you're studying engineering at like an accredited university in America, you're going to be studying the exact same thing. Like maybe like the way of teaching it is a little different, but like the basic concepts, the technical stuff, it's going to be the same. So really what's important is, do you feel like you fit in on campus? Do you feel like you would have a community on campus? Like, would you like the vibe there? And I remember when I visited in 2017 and I had lunch with my Explore host and his friends joined us. And I remember just like sitting there eating lunch, like sharing memes, just like laughing about dumb jokes. And I just thought to myself, holy crap, like I really like this vibe. And I visited like some other schools. I got into some like Ivy Leagues that were like more prestigious than USC. And I realized like when I visited those schools, I was like, wait a minute, like I don't like it here. Like, sure, this is a prestigious school, but like these people aren't happy. Like, do I want to go here at all? So I was like, screw it, I'm going to LA. So that's why I chose USC.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's after this many people, it's getting hard to come up with anything unique. But I guess, I mean, like my truthful answer still is, from a Viterbi perspective, like my biggest concern when I was trying to decide on schools was it gonna be this like cutthroat environment academically for me? And I knew from my visits that that absolutely wasn't the case here, and it isn't. Um, the second piece was I didn't want to do engineering and only engineering, and I knew that coming in. So when I went to the Viterbi admissions events and I saw stuff like this, where it was like such a big emphasis in Viterbi about doing things other than engineering or integrating them with your engineering, that really excited me. And lastly, I love the culture and spirit of USC and the people around LA and campus. I love the whole fight on thing. It's cheesy, but it's great. I love stuff like that. And I love rubbing it in people's faces that go to UCLA. And yeah, that's about it.
Oh man, it sucks to go last, or I guess second to last, Miranda. I definitely resonate with pretty much everything. Everything that you guys said. I can't even think of anything original, so I guess I'll just reiterate some things. So for me, one, as Derek said, I have a minor in classical perspectives, and that was super important to me to be able to do something outside of engineering. And then extending that further, just having, and what Celeste said, extending that further, and there's just so many different people on campus, and I made friends with people in the School of Cinematic Arts and the music school, and it's just so cool to have that diversity of thought and experience. That was really important to me. And going with that, the size. So USC is big, and you have all these people, but then you also have Viterbi, which is a smaller community that you can really find yourself and your support system, and really, like, when I'm on the Viterbi side of campus, I like see people I know, but I can be on the opposite side of campus and be anonymous. And for me, I really like that. So yeah, I think that's all I will reiterate.
You took the line right away from what I was gonna say. And for me, why USC, like you said, diversity of thought, but it's also just like diversity of major, of people, of where they come from, of things there are to do, and also the diversity and new experiences that arise just from living so near a world city. Like, you literally live next to one of the most iconic and prolific cities in the world. It's insane. So what that means for you choosing USC is like, you're gonna forge this path that's so unique and different, and it's completely and utterly yours. And now that I've been at USC, it's like I can say, like, this is my USC experience, and it's unlike anyone else's. So that is our final question for tonight. We really hope you enjoyed the live chat. And if you missed any of it, we're gonna post the whole thing on our website right after this. And again, all of your questions that were submitted through the website and the forum, we're going to get to and answer them, and hopefully help you sort some things out and really help with your college process. So even though none of us are on campus right now, you can still connect with Viterbi Admissions online, like I said before, at viterbiadmissions.usc.edu, where you can sign up for admitted student keynote sessions and virtual tours of campus. So try to get the vibe of USC that we've all been talking about through a screen. And at each session, you'll be able to learn more about the curriculum, your 4-year plan within your major, and learn about more ways to get involved at Viterbi. And then you can also stay connected with myself and all of the amazing people around me, to my left, right, down, on Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok at Viterbi Student. And check out our student blogs and podcasts at viterbivoices.usc.edu/live. Thanks again for watching tonight. Derek, I feel like you're really going to like this part. Good night, everyone, and fight on.
Fight on.
Fight on.
On.